Today's Toy Spot, we're having a look at the McFarlane Toys Movie Maniacs Series 1, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger. This is now really the second figure that Spot has owned of the original Movie Maniacs Series 1 Freddy Krueger. But the original Freddy Krueger that I owned really represents to me what got me into collecting. And for all the questions that I ever get, what got Spot into collecting, a lot of it can be chalked up to this guy right here. This guy really was responsible for getting me into, where I am right now with, collecting, really to that extent, reviewing. When he first came out, I was just out really with friends, and I hadn't been collecting really for years, and I saw this figure and I thought to myself, hey, that's kind of neat, a Freddy Krueger figure. Now, really, it was the first of its kind, as a 6-inch scale figure. I mean, we had gotten Freddy Krueger figures before, but getting him in a 6-inch plastic version, something that you can just put on the shelf, I picked him up. And that really was the end of it. I started getting more Movie Maniac figures. Then Series 2 came out, Series 3 came out, and that really snowballed, so to speak, where my collecting started. So for really everything that you guys have been seeing me reviewing for the years that I've been doing this can really be chalked up to the Movie Maniacs Series 1 Freddy Krueger. Featured at the top of the package, there is Freddy Krueger up at the top there, screaming at something, I really don't know what. Freddy Krueger also does come with his marionette version, his little puppet version of himself from Part 3. Which is interesting because, he's really advertised as Nightmare on Elm Street 1 Freddy. I mean, even like the poster that we'll look at in a second, all is Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street 1, but yet he comes with his accessory from Part 3. On the back, though, you can collect the other figures from Movie Maniacs Series 1. We've got Leatherface, we've got Eve from Species 2, Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street, Patrick from Species 2, and Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th. The same thing with Freddy Krueger. It can be said the same for Jason Voorhees. It's just a weird amalgamation of what they wanted with the figure, because he really has a lot of aspects to him that are from Jason Goes to Hell, but the coloring is kind of more for like Jason from Part 4. So again, it's just be on the lookout though for other figures. I'd say be on the lookout, but these figures are quite a bit older. Dark Ages Spawn Series 11. We also got Spawn Series 12. Kiss Psycho Circus was also available back then as well. And you're looking at 1998 as the released date for this line. So I mean, this line, to see where they had come from, and then to see where they are now, this is really the benchmark for what figures eventually would be. Needless to say, Spot's rambled on long enough. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to get this opened up, and when we come back, we're going to get a better look at Movie Maniacs Series 1, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. As the inclusion to all Movie Maniac figures from McFarlane Toys, you get yourself the Movie Maniacs a standee that actually features the Nightmare on Elm Street poster on the inside. It says, if Nancy doesn't wake up screaming, she won't wake up at all. I've still always loved this classic artwork, and still I really love the idea that they gave us these standees. As you go, if you've collected Movie Maniacs, you obviously know that the standee started really diminishing. It started tall, taller than the figure itself, and then near the end, we really only got this section here with the cardboard poster sitting in there. They've kind of scaled back as the lines go, but like really some of the earlier lines, the first couple of waves, it was nice to actually see these come with something. So I like that. I still like that, and even really looking at where figures have gone, with NECA and whatnot, again, you can really still appreciate that McFarlane Toys did something drastically different, and also still something that we don't see nowadays, but by having these standees. So a nice touch. I still like these. Freddy Krueger does come, as I already mentioned, with the marionette version of himself from Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 3, The Dream Warriors. Detailing on the marionette Freddy, it's not bad. It's a much smaller version of Freddy, very simplistic with sculpt and paint. But, for the size of him, again, you can appreciate where they started this line, which would then get us the figures that we get nowadays. He does have some articulation, surprisingly enough. His head doesn't seem to really want to rotate, but his arms do rotate, which is a nice touch. He's got his gloved hand, the clawed glove there. He has no pegs or anything, but unfortunately his feet are angled. Well, his legs are angled, and then his feet are angled on top of that. So getting him to stand, not certainly the easiest of tasks, but it's weird again, like with the Friday 13th, Jason Voorhees, and Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger. Their earlier release of figures, again, just kind of an amalgamation. To look at this Freddy, he's not really distinctly Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1, nor is he really distinctly Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. He's just kind of, here is our interpretation of just a Freddy Krueger figure. So, again, while it's a little weird that we get a Part 1 Nightmare on Elm Street poster, and then we get Part 3 accessory. Moving him out of the way, let's have a look at Freddy Krueger. Now, this particular Freddy Krueger really isn't the original. This is a bloodied variant Freddy Krueger, and you can really tell by the addition of the excess amounts of blood all over his pant legs, all over his shoes, and even really on the side of his face, there is that indication of blood as well. Some of the earlier examples of figures that came with variants. McFarlane was releasing a lot of these figures, and I remember more importantly the Leatherface, which sadly I don't have anymore, but the Leatherface, to get a bloodied version of the Leatherface was quite expensive, and I think I ultimately found him, but probably paid around $50 to $60 for that figure. The detailing, again, is just a very simplified version of Freddy Krueger. You know it's Freddy Krueger, but you really can't say that it's the likeness that is there. I mean, it's very simplified what they approached, and again, like, I don't really want to take anything away from the figure, because this, when you look at the date, I mean, 1998, this was long before we were getting the figures that we get nowadays. So they've progressed. Luckily to the collectors, they've progressed quite well. But some appreciation can certainly be made for McFarlane Toys for, first of all, approaching the line, and second of all, for for making the efforts to give us, at that time, one of the only Freddy Krueger figures that we got in a 6-inch scale. When I look at this particular figure too, I also think of Terror Dome, which was a fan-made versus game, which really took all the classic horror icons like Freddy Krueger, Chucky, Ghostface, Maniac Cop. Maniac Cop was in there as well. And I think they patterned the design on Freddy Krueger from the movie Maniacs Series 1 Freddy Krueger figure here. But I mean, while some would say there is a crudeness to the design of this figure, as I said with the Jason Voorhees, I kind of really appreciate still the simplicity of the figure. It's not quite really what we've got now, and you can't really say, well, this figure doesn't look like Freddy Krueger, the ones do now. Well, the ones do now are, almost 20 years older, 20 years newer than these lines here. He does have articulation, while unfortunately the majority of his figure is still staction. The torso, really from the waist down, is just a statued piece. It's not going to be able to move or anything on you. But he does still have articulation in the head. And this Freddy, the first release of Freddy, doesn't have the fedora that's removable, The Freddy Krueger that we had later on through movie Maniacs did have the removable fedora and looked a little bit more like Freddy Krueger that we would know from the movies. But he does still have a swivel in the arm. The arm still rotate. He has a swivel also in the biceps section. He has a rotation in the hand. This one arm is just one solid piece. It doesn't move or anything like that. It moves sure at the shoulder, but it doesn't move anywhere in the forearm. He has a rotation in the hand, rotation certainly in the waist, and nothing again in the feet, legs, or anything like that. There is no cut in the thigh that allows you to swivel the leg. It's pretty much staction. But at least the staction is of a pose that you probably would have Freddy in anyways, so I don't mind it too much. The detailing all in his sweater carries on really down to his lower torso, so when you swivel it, you can see that the lower part of his sweater still stays intact. It's really your matter of preference whether you prefer the bloodied version of Freddy Krueger or if you prefer the standard original version of Freddy Krueger that didn't have the additional paint everywhere. Freddy Krueger was also released in a 2-pack fishbowl style container with Jason Voorhees. So if you didn't really get your chance to get Freddy or Jason the first time around, you could have also got them in that set, which Spot never got, but because I got these in the singular release. Freddy Krueger, it's really hard to nitpick him for being a crude looking figure. Again, he is the benchmark of what we got later on with figures. As it probably goes with articulation and sculpt, I'm only going to give Freddy a 6.5, but that's a 6.5 with the understanding that, he set the bar for what we would get later with action figures. Today's Toy Spot, another trip down memory lane. We were having a look today at the McFarlane Toys Movie Maniacs Series 1. We were looking today at Freddy Krueger. Thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned. Spot's going to have more Toy Spots heading your way. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.